is a Horror and Coffee retro review, and I'm your host, Ralph Perez. And before I do my retro review, I just want to remind you to just tap on that bell for future notifications for future Horror and Coffee content. We do horror movies, we do Star Wars stuff, we do pretty much a little bit of those things. That's what this channel is all about. So if you like it, please consider subscribing. Carrie, based on the Stephen King novel. The movie came out in 1976. Let's talk about Carrie. I saw Carrie when I was in junior high school on TV. And then I proceeded to see the whole thing. And it's full without all the cuts and commercials and stuff like that. And I have to say, this movie is definitely a keeper. It's a keeper. It's legendary. Everybody knows about Carrie. The first thing people think about when they think about Carrie is the pig's blood. When the prom, when the pig's blood fell on her. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The movie was directed by Brian De Palma. Now, for those of you who know Brian De Palma, he's more well known for such films as Scarface, um, and what else? Carlitos Way was another one, you know. And he did a few other things, but those were a couple of gems right there. Carrie is another gem, and you can see it. You know the way the camera angles are shot, the way he do. You know he has a unique style of filming. He has a unique eye, Brian De Palma, and he did amazing things, not just with Carrie, but with those, the two other films I mentioned and others. Carrie, based on my research, was the first Stephen King novel to ever be adapted to film. Okay? Now, for those of you who know me about Stephen King, I believe that Stephen King, when it comes to adapting his books into film, not all of them quite hit the mark. There are certain films that don't hit the mark. Carrie was one of those films that hit the mark, and it hit it well. So, who does Carrie? What does Carrie start with? Who's in it? Well, first of all, it's Carrie herself, played by the legendary Sissy Spacek. Um, it's also played her mother, played by Piper Laurie, God rest her soul. Amy Irving, known for a few films back in the day, her was a girl named Sue in the movie. Nancy Allen, we're talking Dress to Kill stuff, okay, and other stuff. She's known for other horror films, but she was in this movie too. William Catt played Tommy, right? This guy that wanted to be Carrie's friend and was her date to the prom. He did other things. He moved on to be the Great American Hero, superhero on the TV series in Channel 7 back in the day. PJ Souls was this brat bully named Norma in Carrie. For those of you who've seen her, many of you will go, oh, she was in Halloween. She played Linda in John Carpenter's 1978 classic a couple years later. And I can't leave this one out because this guy tops it all. John Travolta played a guy named Billy. Typical name, right? Billy. Bully Billy, right? And he was nasty. He was a bad boy in Carrie, okay? But it was one of his early films back in the 70s. And of course, we know what he has done since then. I can't even think of the list of films he's been in and has done amazing work with. So, what's the story about? It's about this girl, right, who goes to high school, and it starts off in the very beginning. Her in the hitting the showers after gym class, I guess, with the other teen girls, and then it happens to be at that moment when she gets her period. So all the kids start laughing at her, and all the girls start like throwing things at her. It's horrible. It's horrible. Terrible bullying. She was very, timid and quiet and weak, and that made her obvious target for ridicule and contempt. PJ So's character, Nancy Allen's character, they were just horrific to her. And Amy Irving too, initially. But then over the course of the film, Amy started like kind of feeling more empathic towards her. Like she wanted to be like, you know what, I shouldn't be like this. and she actually wanted to give her a nice nudge and push. So she kind of talks her boyfriend or her friend Tommy. I don't know if they were together or not. Um, to take ask her out to the prom, and be her date. Okay. Meanwhile, poor Carrie is going through her own turmoil, not just at school but at home. Her mother, played by Piper Laurie, was a very crazy woman. She was out of her damn mind. Religious zealot nut job, okay? Who, abused Carrie too and just like called her all these terrible things and would throw her in the closet and lock her in the closet and tell her to pray and there would be these weird statues of Jesus. I think it's Jesus. I don't know. It was weird looking, but it had arrows. I was like, what? You can get shot with arrows. Where did that thing come from? It was weird. It was freaky. The point of this movie was that Carrie apparently had a gift, the gift of telekinesis, the ability to move objects with her mind. Okay, and maybe it wasn't very clear when she was younger, but at this point in her life journey, it started happening more and more, especially when she was stressed out. You stress her out to the point that she breaks, something happens. Something gets moved or something gets thrown by itself across something. And that started happening bit by bit. Okay? Look, she wasn't alone. Amy Irving's character, poor Sue, kind of started trying to help her out, as did the gym teacher, trying to help her out, right? So, like to kind of help her get out of her shell, so to speak, to be happy. They just wanted her to be happy. But people like Nancy Allen's character, PJ Soap's character, and John Travolta's character did not want that. And when they found out that she was going to be in the prom, they wanted to like do something really bad to her. So they went to a farm somewhere and killed some pigs and collected their blood. And their intent was to take a pail of blood, pig's blood, and when she got picked or whatever at some point during the prom to be the prom queen, they would dump the pig's blood on her and forget about it. It was horrible, and that's exactly what ended up happening. As much as Sue tried to stop it because she realized what was going on while she was being crowned prom queen and everything. I'm getting ahead of myself. It just ended really badly. Her mother is a very important and vital character in this movie. Her mother represents the restraint of Carrie being able to just be free and to come out and be a happy person. You hear that, right? As much as her mother didn't want her to go to the prom, she went. And once her mother realized that Carrie had these powers, forget about it. She started, oh, that's the devil. You are possessed by Satan or whatever, like she got the Satan's power or whatever. And Carrie was trying to like not have any of that, had nothing to do with it, whatever. She tried to still hold it down. Carrie was interested in her gift. She was trying to research it, find out more about it in the school library and things of that nature. When the time came for the prom and Tommy asked her and she reluctantly said yes, she started feeling better about herself, and she felt really good. Her mother said they were going to laugh at her. They were going to laugh at her. That's all she kept on telling her. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to laugh at you, and stuff like that. And then when that moment happened, when she got picked as the prom queen, and she's up there with Tommy, and the pig's blood finally dumps all over her, and everybody stops, and it becomes a slow mo thing. Forget about it. It's like everybody in the gym starts to laugh, in the prom, starts laughing at her. And you hear her mother's voice. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to laugh at you. And she finally snaps. And when she snaps, it's bad. Let me put it to you this way. This would have been, if this was in the Star Wars universe long before the Force was discovered, this was a perfect example of what happens when you fall into the dark side. She, with her mind, pretty much all hell broke loose. Everybody, she started slaughtering everybody in the gym. Okay, everybody, almost everybody died in that gym. Even the gym teacher, she got it bad too. You know, she got thrown up against the wall, and this thing from the gym, the oh, forget it. You know, it was just crazy. And I was watching this when I was young, and I was like, oh my God, this is really insane. She was in a catatonic state at this point. I don't even know if she knew exactly what she was doing. She was really so traumatized by what happened to her and how they're treating her at that point that I think she forgot herself and she just enacted revenge. You know, when bullying gets taken too far, and we've seen that in real life, unfortunately, with, you know, they said that the kids that did that Columbine shooting back in the 90s and stuff like that, that they were bullied and they finally couldn't take it anymore. And that's what drove them to do what they did. I mean, and that's a real life scenario. This was a supernatural, crazy horror scenario in a movie. And Carrie just went off on everybody and stuff like that. She wiped them out, except for Sue. Sue managed to get out in time before the whole place went up in flames. The school went on fire. Okay, the whole and everybody burned inside the gym. A, it was insane. Again, the issue of bullying comes out big in this film. Like when you see what bullying can do, how it can affect a person, and me being personally having been bullied back in middle school, I can attest to that. That it does put a strain on the brain. Like it's a very difficult thing to have to go through, and that has never changed throughout. You know, generations can change and can be updated, but the pain of being bullied is always a constant. Nobody deserves that. Nobody. You know, so I did wonder where her power was coming from. Now, reading further, it seems that her father, who had abandoned her and her mother when she was before she was born, after she was born, or something like that, that he had this power too, apparently, and it passed on to her. You know, so that's something about it. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. If you know better, please comment below and share with me so I can be corrected or guided more in that area. Carrie had sequels and a remake. I remember Carrie 2 The Rage, which Amy Irving was in. You know, since she was the survivor of the first one, she happens to be in this one, and apparently there was also some kind of connection. I only saw it once, and it was a good, modest attempt to kind of relive that through another girl who was somehow linked, familial link to Carrie from the original film. How I kind of don't remember. I would have to see it again to get it right, but they tried to do well with it, and it was interesting. I have to admit. It had its moments, but it didn't go anywhere close to the original film at all. The remake with Chloe I can't think of her name. Here it is. Um, that came out about over 10 years ago at this point. That was good, but I felt like it was a watered down version of the original. Like it didn't end the way the original ended. Let's talk about that ending, shall we? That ending was one of the most shocking and scary. It messed me up. Okay, when the whole neighborhood is rocked by the devastation of what happened at the gym. Carrie ends up dying too. She kills her mom in the house because her mother tries to kill her. Nuts. She tries to kill her. And so, what does Carrie do? Again, her powers. All these knives came and like impaled her mom. And then she realized what she did, and she's holding the body of her dead mom as the whole house collapses in on itself and sinks to the ground. And that's it. No more house. You see Sue having a dream of her going to Carrie where Carrie's house once stood with this cross there, and it says Carrie, and it says for sale. Like, what are you selling? There's nothing there, right? But it says for sale, and it's this peaceful, serene dream state, and she's there with flowers to leave at the base of the cross there in the middle of the ground. where the house once stood. It says Carrie White burns in hell, and it has an arrow pointing down, which was already creepy enough. And then what really messed me up though was the part when she put the flower down. All of a sudden, this hand comes out, grabs her, and then Sue wakes up from her dream, screaming in total horror of this nightmare that she had, the trauma of her having to have gone through what she gone through. Okay, and the music was horrifying. It worked well for that shot. The mom's trying to comfort Sue, trying to like shake her out of it. Sue is there, arm is shaking like this. She's gone. It was horrifying to see. That messed me up as a kid because you think about nightmares and night terrors and things like that, and that's exactly what happened here. And I was like, my God, and nobody expected it. Nobody expected it in the movie. And in the movie, what was interesting was that uh, it became an inspiration, that particular part, for another movie. Tom Savini, the famous makeup artist, and Victor, my co founder, was the one who let me in on this fact. He was inspired by that ending. So he implemented it in another film that was to come out a few years later. You should have heard about it. It's a film called Friday the 13th, the original film. Remember that at the end of the original film when Alice is in the boat in the lake and there's that serene, peaceful thing, and all of a sudden Jason pops out of the water and pulls her down? That was Tom Savini's idea, and he got it from Carrie. Huh? Who knew? I didn't know. So I was like, oh, very good. Because let me tell you, that worked. That worked. It worked for Friday the 13th. It sure as hell worked for Carrie. Because that ending, again, was traumatizing. All in all, in general, Carrie was absolutely one of the legendary horror films of the 1970s. The 1970s had a whole list of horror movies that was coming out. The Omen, The Exorcist. I those are the two that stand out in my head right now. Halloween. Halloween came out in '78. So, there was so many other horror films that were coming out at that time period that are so good, so raw, so gritty, so realistic even though obviously it wasn't. That Carrie just fit in well within the realm of all of that. Brian De Palma nailed it with Carrie, and I'm gonna give Carrie the legendary 5 coffee cup rating for it being such a legendary film that it is in its horror, in its story, in its characters, and especially with that ending. That ending. Never forget that ending. Have you seen Carrie? Talk to me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And let's move forward with Horror and Coffee with the channel still going. I got to buy me a coffee support link I'll put down below so you can support the channel in any donations you may like to have to give. And hope you guys are enjoying your March. We are in March. More horror movies to come. All right, so Carrie, retro reviewed, 5 coffee cups. This is Ralph Perez. Horror and Coffee. Enjoy and take care.